Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day so far. It's a beautiful sunny day. Enjoy the weather. A little chilly, but looks really beautiful outside. So let's do a couple of Rashis. In the beginning of Metzora, again, these parshios are very difficult. Tazria Metzora, the Rashis are very technical, somewhat gruesome, but there's beautiful Rashis which always bear repeating or worth repeating. Classic Rashis I'm sure you've heard of before, you've seen before, but are always worth going over. In the beginning of the Parsha of Metzora, um, talking about the purification process of the Metzora. We spent a lot of time last week talking about what it means to be a Metzora, how a Kohen declares someone to be a Metzora, to get tzaras, and then, of course, the importance of Badad Yeshev Michutz Lamachaneh. We looked at the end of last week. They have to be alone. They have to be in isolation, perhaps even isolation from other Mitzoraim. They have to be in total isolation and seclusion outside of the Machana, outside of the three camps of the Jewish people, until they are able to be purified and come back. So our Parsha picks up in the happy moment, the moment of their reintegration back into society after being so segregated and so separated for the time period of their tsaras, affliction. So once they're declared that they're able to be purified, they go through a whole series of steps in an intricate process in order to gain that level of purity. And every stage of that process has a deep symbolism to it. I just want to point out a few examples from the very beginning of the description. Torah tells us, Zos tia Toras hamitzora biyom taharaso uvala kohen. This is the Torah, the instruction, the guidebook to the Metzora on the day of his purification when he's brought to the Kohen. So right away you see here, biyom taharaso. Rashi notices that there's an added emphasis here on the day of your tahara, the day of your purification. Why? What's the difference if it's the day of your purification or not? We know it's the day of his purification. That's what's being described here is the process of being purified. Why does it re-emphasize the day of your purification? Rashi says, it says day, to teach us that we're not allowed to go through this process at nighttime. It has to be done during the day. I think there's a beautiful idea behind that, a symbolism to that. The Metzora is nachshav kemes. It's the closest thing to death. He's totally separated. He's isolated. He's living in a world of total darkness. All pathways are cut off from him. All of life's experiences are cut off from him. He's cut off from his society, from his family, from his job, from his everything. It's cut off. He's living in total darkness. So what a beautiful symbol that when he purifies himself, he does so during the day, only during the day. To reintegrate into society, he comes from the darkness into the light of day, the light of the day when the sun can shine upon him, breathe in him new life and new fervor and new energy and new hope, coming from that place of tremendous symbolic darkness into that place of symbolic light. So it has to take place biyom, in the day of his tahara. In addition, the Kohen goes outside the machane, declares the nega, the affliction, to be nirpa, to be healed, and therefore allows him to go through this process. What does he tell him to do? The first things he tells him to do, v'tziva ha-kohen, v'lakach lamitaher shtei tziporim chayos tehoros. He's supposed to take two birds of a kosher species, ve'etz erez, and a stick of cedar, ushni tolas ve'ezov, and a string of tolas and ezov, hyssop branch. These are all the components of the process which is about to unfold in great intricacy of what he does with all of these items. And Rashi says that each of these items has great symbolism as well. Why does he take two birds? Two birds for this process, one bird which is going to be shechted and one bird which is going to be sent away. Because the whole reason he got to this place of tsaras is because of speaking lashon hara. That's what we believe is the main catalyst for a person getting tsaras, is that they speak lashon hara about other people, right? We saw that mida keneged miga punishment in terms of lashon hara and badad yeshev last week. They separated between people by speaking about them, and therefore the rehabilitation process is that they go into separation from people in special isolation outside the camp. Mida keneged mida. So we see it come back here again. We see that if the reason why they landed up in this place of tsaras was because of lashon hara, so now we have to have a symbol of lashon hara upon their purification. What does it mean to have a symbol through these two birds? Lefisha negaim ba'im lashon hara, because all of the saras came because of lashon hara. Shehu mase patit. It's an act of speaking. Pitputei devarim, chattering of things. Lefikach huzkaku letziporim lataharaso tziporim shemepatpatim tamid b'tziftzuk kol. Therefore, in order to purify himself, he has to bring two birds, which are a species that are constantly chattering, constantly moving their mouths, constantly being mefatet, bidvarim. So just like pitput dvarim got the person here, now there's a symbol of pitput dvarim that gets them out of there. So the purification process is laden with symbols that remind the person of how they got to this spot to begin with and what they're going to need to correct in order to go forward, so that they don't just come out and say, okay, I'm done, I'm over with. Even the reintegration into purity is laden with symbols and reminders to them of what this whole process was all about. Number one, the birds. You got here because of speech. The birds are a speaking type of species. Therefore, you'll be reminded of what got you here to begin with. And all these other species, a hyssop branch, for example, Eitz Erez, the cedar branch, Lafia shenagayin bayin al gasus haruach, umata kanaso v'yisrape, yashpil atzma migeus ketolas ve'ezov. The symbols here are diametrically opposed. You have a branch of a cedar tree, the highest, tallest, strongest of trees, and you have a hyssop branch, a low bush close to the ground, and a tolas string, a string of something produced by a worm, which is on the ground. You have the highest and the lowest contrasted here in this procedure, in this ritual, to say to the person, hey, remember that gasus ruach, haughtiness, thinking you're above everybody else, you're more powerful than anyone, you could say whatever you want about anybody else. That's what got you here. And in order to correct it, you have to go and humble yourself, lower yourself, reduce that gasus ruach, the haughtiness that got you here. So the symbols of high and low, the symbols of the birds, the symbols of the daylight, there's so much going on here behind the scenes that I think is quite beautiful and quite appropriate in this ceremony. Lots to think about. Hope you should have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you, God willing, tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
too,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Rabbi.
Have a good
Very
one.
beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you.